Time to shine today. Varsity Squad. It is Scott Ferguson, and I got my brother Mads Singers from, well, he's Danish, but he is chilling out in Vietnam right now. Like, no lie, he's crushing it from wherever he's hanging out. And he asked the question: Is as an online business owner, you're likely experiencing some of these common problems. You never seem to stop working. It's difficult to effectively delegate. Finding the right people is a struggle, and spending too long training staff. And I'll tell you what, I am dealing with a couple of those pretty much on a daily basis. But Mads has more than 10 years of experience in Fortune 500 companies such as Xerox and IBM, and more than 7 years of experience coaching and consulting online entrepreneurs. He also spoken at, I'm just going to say a buttload of large events. I mean, if you go to his website, madssingers.com, which I'll put in the show notes, you can see him actually standing up there in front of a few thousand, maybe a couple hundred, 500 people. But the guy's a total baller. He's currently owning and running 3 companies and managing more than 100 people. He doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. Like I said, my boy Mads is a baller, shot caller. And Mads, thank you so much for coming on the Time to Shine Today podcast. I'd love you to introduce yourself. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Light green.
Light green. Why is that?
I have no idea.
There's a method to my questioning with the colors, which I'll get to a little bit later. But yeah, so tell us some origin stories, man. Tell us from like where you got started and then brought you up to this rock star consulting coach.
Sure. So I was born in Denmark. I studied a little bit and I got sick and tired of that very quickly. I left Denmark as soon as I turned 18. Okay. I moved to Ireland, of all places. I started working with Xerox and very quickly, within a few months, became very interested in management. I luckily got a manager that was exceptionally good. And I basically, pretty much from I was 18, basically put my aim at management. Okay. I started studying a lot. Over 12 years, I read about an average of a book a week. Wow. Which is a lot of reading. I spent a sizable amount of my personal money on taking trainings and attending events and so on to learn the skills. And eventually I became a manager. I ended up working for IBM for many years as well, and outsourcing management specifically. Okay. And at some point I started coaching other people who were managers in other businesses and so on, or who was running their own business. And one day I sort of woke up and I realized I was making more money working 5 hours a week as a coach than working 60 hours a week at IBM in a high-level management position. And I was like, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I decided to leave and I started. I've always had a lot of coaches myself. I love coaches, and I love particularly people who are specialized. Like, if I want to go to the gym, I love having someone who's good at going to the gym with me. Sure. Because right. it makes it that much quicker for me. And time is the most valuable resource we have. So the key thing though around coaches is I've never liked people who don't sort of walk the walk, or people who are not doing what they coach. Right. So again, someone who's coaching you on fitness but doesn't go to the gym themselves, it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Right. So I've always pledged on to spend 20% of my time on management coaching. But the fundamentals that I've been doing then, I built up a big outsourcing company. So I was moving around the world a bit. I ended up in the Philippines. I built up an outsourcing company where we currently have probably about 130 staff. And then besides my coaching and consulting business, and then I've started a media publishing business where we're basically doing affiliate marketing, SEO, and that kind of thing. And yeah, I love building companies. I love building teams, finding great talent, putting them together and helping them shine. That's really what I love doing. And I do that for a ton of clients around the world, particularly, as you alluded to in the beginning, people who are stressed out, people who are really struggling. Really help them get their stuff. I mean, everyone says this, you shouldn't work in your business, you should work on your business. Sure. But the problem is most people don't actually know what that means. And most people don't understand how to get there. Sure. Right. So that's really what I help people with. My focus is generally on people management specifically. So, how do you hire the right people? How do you manage the right people? How do you give them responsibility and grow them?
Okay.
I'm a firm believer in generally, you can't always do it, but generally recruiting from within.
Sure.
So when I start a new business, when I hire people, I always look for people with great attitude, great mentality, and fantastic potential, and
Beautiful.
then grow them. Because when you grow people from within, they grow with your culture, they grow with your values and so on. And that's what you want in a business, right?
I
You
love.
want people to raise from within.
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. So you were at Xerox, in other companies, and you're making a solid six-figure income. I'm just going to assume, and maybe more. But what did your family think, or even your close friends and colleagues think when you said, "Okay, I like this 5-hour work week better than the 60-hour"? What was their, what did they think?
So actually, I had two of these. So one of them was actually when I left Denmark and I quit my education. I definitely had a few people raise their eyebrows. So
Sure.
one of the great things, if you will, about Denmark is you get paid to study. Now, one of the downsides with that is a lot of people go just to get paid, not to study.
Understood. Got it.
And I've never been very good at wasting my time. So that's why I got fed up with it. But fundamentally, that was me leaving was actually the first thing. I had very few people actually raise any eyebrows when I left the corporate world.
Hmm.
Um, Primarily, I mean, most people had seen me go through a lot of stuff. A lot of my friends, they knew what I've been through. They knew my personality and they knew that I'll be successful. So they were not really too afraid. And yeah, I mean, when you work in management, like it's a universal skill set. I can get a
Sure.
job pretty much. Yeah, and I can get a job in many, many
If you
places. So
needed to,
it's
you
not.
could go back, but like you have this want and you have a big heart and you want to have people level up, and that's amazing. So when you're starting to work with people, Mads, or you have a discovery conversation, let's say you bring them on and you're going to be their coach or consultant or their company, what's some of the secret sauce you can share with our squad here to help them find their blind spot?
Yeah, I think, I mean, again, it depends a little bit with personalities, right? So I spend a lot of time on a personality framework called DISC
Oh yeah.
because it helps people understand both themselves, but more so people who are very different from them.
Hmm.
And that is critical as a business owner, wherever you're talking sales or managing people or whichever.
Sure.
But really to put in the right people in the right seats, it's often what people really struggle with. And DISC is super powerful when it
Love
comes to
disc.
this.
What did you score with disc? What was your high D or low
So,
D, or what were
so
you?
for me, well, so I'm a ridiculously high C with a tiny bit of S in me.
Okay.
The beauty with disc and the beauty I teach disc in one of my management courses, right? And
Hmm.
the beauty about disc is you don't need the test. Like all these systems, most of these systems, you need to take the test.
Right.
And the problem is when you're testing people, particularly at an interview level, what happens is one, some people don't know themselves very well.
Sure.
And two, at an interview, they will always tell you what they think you want to hear, no matter what you tell
No
them.
matter what, you're right.
Like I've some of the like some typical question is like, "Are you very organized?"
Right.
Right?
Oh yeah, sure.
No one at a job interview is gonna say no. They're just not. And particularly not if the job ad says, we need someone organized. Like it's
Yeah.
not gonna happen. So the beauty of Disc is the fact that when you become really good at it, and I have spent 15 plus years working on Disc, so
Sure.
I'm pretty good. But the key thing is like you can tell people's personality very, very quickly just by
Wow.
again looking at them, looking at some of
That's
their
a great
emails,
program. Yeah.
talking to them,
Yeah.
and that is really, really powerful, right? And that's usually where most of my training starts out.
No, I love that for finding blind spots. It's funny. I ask that question to people that I interview to bring in a time to shine today, and like I'll do it on a face to face, and then they say that they're organized, and then I'll be like, "Hey, let's go for a walk," and I go look at their car. Be like, "Where do you drive?" There it is, and they're not. Then like, that's funny that you said that. So if I'm out and about, and Florida's opened up here a lot. I'd love to do a lot of networking, press and flush, and meeting people. Mads, what? If I'm listening to somebody and they're telling me, and I'm hearing a need in there. What are they saying that would make them a great prospect, connection, referral for you?
Yeah, so the sort of top three things I would say is number one, they're feeling overwhelmed. They're working way too many hours. That's probably the biggest one. The
Hmm.
second one is they're struggling to hire great people. And the third one is either having problems with people performing or having struggles kind of taking a team and really making it a team. Like they have a bunch of individuals, but they're not working as a team. Right. So
Wow.
those are generally sort of the key things that most of my clients work with. But I mean, many people come to me, and one of my very good clients have been with me for about a year and a half, and he just took 6 months off because he had a baby,
Okay.
and it's only a year and a half since he was literally working 60-hour weeks. Right.
Wow.
And that is, I mean, for him, the ability to do that is obviously life changing,
Hmm.
and yeah, that's.
Love it. You know what? That's fantastic. That you how am I? I'm trying to ask this question, thinking of a question. So if you're brought in, your consulting expertise are brought in, do you like this is like pre-corona and then post-corona? Do you show up or do you do a lot of the stuff virtually, or how do you do this?
So it depends. Majority of my clients, so I basically have two ways I work with people. I either work with the business owner and their management team, or I work with the business owner. That's typically those two options, right?
Hmm.
Particularly if it's a smaller business where you don't really have managers yet, then I would tend to mostly work with the business owner. I occasionally do show up if it is suitable, but majority of my clients work with me online.
Okay.
Basically, where I start with most of my clients nowadays is I have my sort of effective management course, which is basically all of me repeating myself.
Sure.
So that's basically the cheaper way of getting all the content, all the knowledge I have, right? And then majority of people basically go on with coaching after that, right? But
Gotcha.
that just takes a lot of stuff out of the way that I would otherwise spend a couple of months going through with people, and it enables them to first of all have that information and go back through it again and again,
Hmm.
and also it enables people who are not yet financially at a stage where they can afford coaching to get some absolutely top level management skills on board,
Okay.
and really get a high level of skill, and as sort of a small once-off cost, right?
Got it. So if you're the CEO of a company brings you in
Yep.
and they're doing okay, but they know they need to level up. And you always have that person that's below the CEO that's really in the trenches and managing people. How do you handle their ego when you come in? Because the CEO is bringing you in, it's shake hands, all right, man, it's great. But you have that person that's answering to the CEO, their pride's hurt, they think their job's on the line. Like, how do you handle them?
So honestly, I've never had a challenge with that.
Oh, wow,
I
okay.
think, and I'm a very agreeable person, and I tend to win people over with knowledge. No, but like I'm saying this from the bottom of my heart, but I don't walk into a company and say I know better. Like
Okay.
I walk in, I talk with people, and I try and figure out
You're
what's your biggest
relatable.
problem.
Okay.
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
And I've been through it all. Like I've
Yeah.
been managing no people, I've been managing hundreds of people,
Okay.
uh, and I've been through it,
No,
right?
I love that you said that because that's how like I've been brought in. I'm not on your level, but I brought in to help a few companies, and I'm 270 pounds. I walk in and I'm trying to get everybody fired up, but that's the one thing my coach that coached me about the consulting was just be relatable to the person and come in and not act like you're swinging your big, like you're a big alpha dog. And I'm happy to hear that you said that. And Mads, we're going to hop in our DeLorean. I know you're from Denmark. You've heard of, Back to the Future, right? With
I
Marty
have.
McFly. Okay. So you're in the DeLorean with Marty McFly. You're going back in time. You meet up with the 22-year-old Mad Singers. With your experience now and your success, what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping on that 22-year-old Mads? Hopefully he listens to you. but what kind of knowledge nuggets are you dropping to maybe help them shorten the learning curve and level up just a little bit quicker?
Yeah. So when I was 22, I was actually struggling with the thing that I'm teaching a lot of people how to
Okay.
overcome, which was delegation specifically. And the way I really learned that was about a year later. But basically, and then the learning experience was great. But basically, what happened was I was in a position where I knew it all. Like most small business owners, they know everything. And the
Of course.
problem is, it's easy to keep going down into the details when they
Yeah.
know their business so well. And the learning experience for me was really getting moved to a position where I didn't know anything, and I had to actually trust the people who were working below me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually that really helped me understand how delegation really worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably been one of the most powerful experiences. And if I had to talk to my 22-year-old me, I would
Right.
probably try and convey some of that wisdom, right? One of
Love
the
that.
absolutely key nuggets around that is learning how to actually delegate responsibility rather than delegating tasks. And it
Okay.
sounds simple, but really the essence is most business owners try and delegate tasks. And it's online, it's very common. People always say you have to figure out how this works, you build a process, and then you give it to someone. But
Okay.
the problem is that's not how you do it. I can promise you the CEO of IBM is not figuring out every process in the company and
Yeah.
telling people what to do.
Oh
That's
yeah.
not how it
Right.
works. It's about learning to hand over responsibility, tell people what is the outcome you're looking for, and let them roll with it,
I
right? And
love that. Yeah.
in the beginning, they don't do it as effectively as you could because they're not at your level. But the only way that you grow is by doing more valuable things. When you're sitting doing basic stuff that someone getting paid $5 an hour could do, right? That's what you're getting paid. And if you
Right.
want to grow your business, you need to do higher level value stuff that increases the value of your time. And you can only do that if you learn to let go.
Love it. I love that you said to delegate the responsibility less tasks, because that's what my best mentor Sam did to me. Like, I used to manage real estate for him, and we had a problem, and I came and sat down in his office, and I said, Sam, this is a problem. What should I do? And I sat down. He looked at me. He tore into me. He was like, you need to come to me with your recommendations. I could tell you if they're idiotic or not, but you need to think for yourself. And I love that you said to delegate the responsibility a little bit less than the tasks, because it helps someone grow, it helps the company grow. And even if you fall on your face a little bit, you'll have the person telling you, but it helps the company grow, right? Like you just said, you would tell that 22-year-old, Mads to learn to delegate the
I mean, what
responsibility.
one of the key things around what you just said is one of my famous sayings is, as a manager, the key thing, as a business owner, really,
Mm-hmm.
the key thing is never answer questions from your staff. And
Wow.
that
Okay.
sounds strange, but
Uh-huh.
that goes exactly back to what you mentioned. Said, I don't necessarily tore into people, but I
He
asked
was
them
different.
questions.
He was
Yeah,
different.
sure. But the key thing is I teach people that as well all the time, right?
Uh-huh.
But basically, when people come with a question, like what most business owners, when I go work with them, I see their Skype flashing and their Slack flashing, and it's all questions from employees all the
Sure.
time.
Right.
And it's because when you answer a question, what happens is you pre-program people and you say, when I have this issue, go ask boss man. It's not
Right.
like they know, oh, when I asked this question, this was the answer.
Right.
They're actually pre-programming themselves to go ask you. So instead, what you do is you ask them questions and you ask them specifically. Two things is, what do you see the options being? Like, what is the potential options? And when they then give you the answers, they're like, what do you think is the best option here? And the reason why you do that is because that helps you understand how they think. And when you understand how they think, that can help you either let them go do what they want to do or see if there's something they've totally missed.
Love it.
One of the big issues that business owners have is they know everything,
Sure.
and it's often hard for them to put themselves in the place of someone that knows less
Sure.
and understand how they think. But if someone says, if someone is giving you answers and you're like, whoa, they're not thinking about this the right way,
Sure.
you're not necessarily going to tell them the answer to the question,
Right.
but you can ask them into how they think. You're like, well,
Yeah.
if you think we should give this customer $1 million refund, have you considered what happens
Got it.
if we do that to all our clients?
Sure.
Or like, so you can ask them questions, or you can talk to them about how they think about things, and that enables them to, because they learn, because they think themselves, they
Sure.
learn. And the benefit is when people come and ask you similar questions time and time again, and they always have the right answer, you can just tell them, dude, I trust you, you know this stuff, just go
Right.
do it.
Love it. So, Mads, you've did a lot in your life, and we always talk about the dash here at Time to Shine today, and it's required for any of my clients, whether I'm coaching them or they work for me directly. I want to know about their dash, and that dash is that little mark in between their life date and death date. Okay, how does Mads want his dash to be remembered?
For me, it's fundamentally, I mean, I don't have a particularly big ego. So my focus is much more about having helped a lot of people develop. I think people who learn personal development, which I did at a very early age, probably discover the closest to what I could see the secret of life. Because the thing is, when you learn personal development, and most business owners end up, like particularly smaller business owners, they end up getting involved and ingrained in personal development. And I see it as a huge responsibility for me to actually
Mm-hmm.
teach it to as many other people as I can and help motivate them on that journey. Because I think the biggest issues we see in society today is people spending their life sitting around watching TV or
Oh
playing
yeah.
computer games and not doing anything with their life. And I don't think it's because people don't want to. I think fundamentally it's people don't know what to do. And yeah,
Yeah, I
so
love
that's
that
my
guy. And yeah,
dash.
you're going to build a hell of a legacy, which you already are. And you're a living legacy from the clients that you've helped in level up and stuff. So, what would your definition of a life well lived be?
For me, it's very much about happiness. I mean, I think I fundamentally believe that happiness is a choice. And this sounds very interesting to most people, but I
Hmm.
think learning to let go of material things, learning to understand that your happiness is not a competition with others. It's not
Hmm.
about comparing yourself to others.
Right.
Your happiness is actually learning to appreciate where you are at any given time. And I think what I always say is anything that I see someone being unhappy about, I see someone else being happy about.
I love that give and ebb and flow. It's the opposites, but still could be what's good for one person might suck for another, but it's still the happiness. And what I always kind of bring up is the old Tony Robbins, where pain is life, suffering's a choice. You don't, no matter what the situation is, you can still be happy in the situation. You might not be ecstatic, but you know that you can make your day better, you
I mean,
know?
I've spent quite a bit of time in the Philippines, and I tend to say that a majority of homeless people I meet in the Philippines are happier than the average Danish person. And it's
Sure.
probably not that they are and that they feel it, but they look it. And
Right.
as an outsider looking at them, they
Sure.
look happier. And it's because they have the time. They have, like in Europe, particularly in sort of northern Europe, people are
Hmm.
so busy stressing around. It's like, oh, the bus is 2 minutes late. That means I missed another connecting bus, and that means my day is screwed up and life is
Right.
over. This kind of rigorous sort of, and the challenge with it is it becomes very antisocial. Like in Denmark, if
Right.
I sit down in a bus next to someone else and say hello, they look at me like I'm an alien. They're like, "Do I know you? Why are you communicating to me?" But
Uh,
I think that's one of the things that when you learn to appreciate things around you, when you learn to appreciate your situation instead of comparing yourself to others, or instead of looking at your situation in a negative light, that automatically will make you happier.
Love it. Love it. I'm actually writing that one down too. Hey, Mads, as we're like winding stuff down here just a little bit, we like to do what's called a leveling up and lightning round. Okay. So you and I could talk 15, 20 minutes on each one of these. questions I'm going to ask you, but you can answer them in a second. So I'm going to give you 5 seconds, no explanations. Just give me the answer. You ready?
Sure.
Here we go. What's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
First, break all the rules by, I can't remember his name.
That's break all the rules. We'll leave it at that. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Showing up every day, no exception.
Love that. So other than your website and of course timetoshinetoday.com, that's my shameless plug, what website do you like to go out there quickly to go level up your life?
Dynamite Circle.
Oh, I'm going to write that down. Don't explain. I'm going to go look at it. All right. Not the book that you're reading now, not the flavor of the month. What's the one book that stood out to you?
That was actually my earlier answer. So first, break all the rules.
I got it. What is your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Colon and this one. So I guess it's a happy, normal,
happy face. Love it. If you could be one age for the rest of your life, what would it be?
I don't think I would want to.
Okay. No, that's fine. Any charities and or organizations you like to give your time and or money to?
No.
Okay. Well, last question. What's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
90s.
90s. All right, my man. Such a transitional era. Hey, Mads, how can we find you, brother?
mattsingers.com is the best place. Again, I actually have a free training for people who are starting out or people who are struggling a bit with management on the front page of my site.
Okay.
Otherwise, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so on. Matt's Singers. I'm the only one with that name. So
yeah, all of those will be in the show notes, folks. And like, I am super stoked. I have a whole written page of notes here from my boy Mads. It's funny that he taught along the way. If you're really listening, he actually was dropping his almost basically a free masterclass. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, struggling to hire, or having performance problems for maybe some of your employees, he's a great company to go to. He appreciates every situation that he's in. He understands happiness is a choice. His legacy that he wants to leave is he wants to help a ton of people level up their life. And if you're a manager out there, let your employees or the people that are below you maybe like answer their own questions. Don't answer the questions for them. Answer their own questions. If they're wrong, maybe dig a little deeper and guide them along. And Mads was awesome. I mean, it's like 11 o'clock almost, his time. And this is a first for Time to Shine Today to ever do a podcast with anybody that's in Vietnam right now. So that's kind of cool. And Mads, we really appreciate your time, man. You're part of our varsity squad now. You can't go anywhere. So again, thank you so much.
Pleasure to be here. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Scott.
You bet, Mads. Take care. It's recording, so whenever you're ready.
Hey, this is Matt Singers with mattsingers.com. If you really want, no, it's not good. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine podcast with my friends. Okay, let me do it again. Hey, this is Matt Singers with mattsingers.com. If you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine podcast today with my friend Scott Ferguson.
Love it. Perfect.